Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, to some Propagandacast news here with big news, I suppose. Basically, the next Relic game has been announced, and it is not Company News 3. It's Age of Empires 4. I know that's pretty bit confusing, and why I'm then using Company News 2 because, well, there's no absolute footage of Age of Empires 4 it's making, so, you know, might as well use the latest game Relic made, because we do not speak of the other one, which I, of course, was completely correct on, would be, you know, not very good game that was very popular, but we don't speak of it. So again, it's Company News 2 we're sort of using here sort of as the game footage rolling in the background as we talk about Age of Empires 4. I suppose I'm not too surprised. I mean, there's apparently some kind of collaboration there between Sega and Microsoft because, you know, they had creative simply to work on Halo Wars 2, so I suppose it makes sense that Relic then got to work on Age of Empires 4. Now, of course, the big question is here, and of course for those, could this end up like that which we shall not name because that was a really rubbish game? Well, the primary reasons for, you know, that which we shall not name, you know, was a rubbish game was partly because it's fueled partly on nostalgia in RTS, which for years now has proven to be about as useful as, you know, charging headlong into a wall in actually breaking down that wall, which is not very effective at all. Again, nostalgia can really only take you so far when the market is absolutely saturated and has been saturated for it in years. I mean, again, there's a reason the RTS genre itself isn't really going anywhere, you know, big or flashy, because they just keep doing the same bloody thing over and over again. Even Call of Duty, which, you know, is pretty much accused of just going nowhere, has evolved more, for the most part, than sort of the mainline RTS genre, which is not really what Cold Company is at the moment, because, again, most people still stick to StarCraft sort of style of play. So that's sort of the big question there. Will Age of Empires 4 then continue down that trend, or will they actually, you know, try and, you know, bring up some actual fresh gameplay ideas that actually sort of based on, you know, having new ideas and actually trying to push ahead the genre, you know, active stuff that fits to what's going on in the battlefield? It's just going to be in the same old, same old. And again, for a lot of people, the ones that are most excited just seems, you know, nostalgia, amazing, I played this as a child, then why aren't you playing it anymore? Silence, right? I mean, that's sort of the issue there again. I mean, you just can't, you know, keep caving into nostalgia because, again, they'll surely love you for it, but again, once it hits, play it through, they're going to forget about it. Because, again, it's just nostalgia. Nostalgia can only take you so far. It's not really a good force for gaming long term if you don't actually, you know, do something new with the game. And that's really the big question. Will they actually try something new? And that's the thing, we don't actually really know a lot. The best we basically got to work on is the trailer, which was sort of, you know, drawn footage, really neat, which basically sort of showed, well, technically all of Age of Empires. Up to now, there's Age of Empires 1, 2, and 3, you know, all up, you know, to sort of the Revolutionary War, gunpowder, and such. Which, of course, begs the question, where's Empires 4 then? Like, well, if you sort of look at where it stops, it's right around the Industrial Era, which, you know, being, you know, more guns, cannons, potentially, you know, up all to, say, World War I, World War II, which also mean tanks and vehicles, meaning, well, Age of Empires 4 then would, you know, be right up Relic's alley, you know, with Dawn of War 1, 2, that's we shall not speak of, and, you know, the Company Hero series. I mean, we can sort of imagine, you know, infantry formation and not just individual troops. You know, you buy squads, companies, battalions, you know, depending on the era. I mean, if they can start, you know, Napoleonic, you know, you have sort of large infantry formations. Cavalry won't be, you know, a huge deal, though, of course, you can use it, but it's not exactly the big deal there, since most weapons, you know, pretty inaccurate. But again, it's a theoretical option. And again, the infantry formations are larger, but then you sort of progress through the ages, you know. I mean, the formations get smaller and smaller as obviously, you know, firepower sort of gets brought up to more accuracy, just more raw firepower, and, you know, it doesn't become so important to have really large formations. So in that regard, that could be a way of doing it. Of course, tanks, support weapons, all that sort of slowly around, going from just having cannons, maybe some crude mortars, into actual mortars, machine guns, anti-tank guns, artillery of all sorts, those kinds of things. I mean, that could be, you know, sort of way they could progress it. I mean, you know, sort of give some options there. And, you know, that way you could sort of have, like, you know, a full Company of Heroes and just, you know, start up a custom game with the sort of latest ages and just, you know, play it out like that in theory. So, I mean, that could be a direction they could choose to sort of do it in. I mean, it'll probably make the most sense in some ways. They're going to be actually going to do Industrial Era because it's not going to make much sense if they're, like, you know, head up to, like, World War II and people just standing out in the open like it's bloody Warcraft, just firing at each other with tanks, you know, not really being tanks. I mean, again, that's basically what made Company Heroes so amazing. Tanks were tanks, infantry was infantry, machine guns were bloody machine guns. So that's sort of, the big question there. How do they do it? And, in what manner? And of course, that also leads to the big question, resources, buildings. How can they do that? Of course, the even bigger question, because obviously, in World War II, didn't exactly people running about, chopping wood, mining iron and gold on the front line. You sort of have to consider maybe sort of a different resource system as well. Not necessarily directly in the style of Company Heroes, but Company Heroes could maybe provide some kind of idea. There's some mixed system. Rather than you just, building peasants, villages and whatnot, you secure territory. Rather you have a series of villages dotted across a map, which you then secure, post resources into them, which then feed you back with resources. You have sort of a main headquarters, the sort of the center of the military, with maybe some other sort of utilitarian structures, which you then sort of use to push forwards with. So instead of, fighting over just scraps of territory, you're actually fighting over villages, which what empires would have done, fight over towns. And then, of course, different towns would have different resources. Some would be great for agriculture. Some would be great for, iron, gold, plutonium, boots, aluminum. Those kinds of things. So fighting in that way would still, be frontline-centric, but at the same time, there'd also be, a resource center too. It wouldn't be like, people would be able to do nothing with those villages. They can upgrade them, sort of post stuff in them. But, again, it wouldn't be just, you built a ton of villages, got up, mined stuff. It would sort of be slightly changed. But, with that way, actually makes sense within the game itself, which is really just one of the issues that I think most RTS games, get stuck in. It doesn't actually make an awful lot of sense when you think about it. And people like to a degree, when things make sense, when they can actually, suspend their disbelief to a degree. But, again, World War II, people running about chopping wood for tanks. Yeah, no one's going to buy that. No one's going to buy that. On the other hand, controlling a series of villages that then provide you somehow resources, I think is sort of a bit more, believable. So I think that sort of could be, a direction they could take the game. And then, of course, as you progress through the ages, these villages would grow up with you. That way you could also disparities, again, one player, large military, but weak economy, not really advanced. And then you have the other chap with, much better economy, not weaker, but again, overall more advanced troops. That way could also have gameplay with, like, say, strong military player, but again, not so advanced, takes villages from the more advanced player, who again doesn't have a strong military, but can fight back. But, thanks to those more advanced villages, can then use, technology to actually himself advance up further. That could also be, pillaging mechanics working in there as well. So, they could really, do Age of Empires 4 in a really exciting and interesting manner, really sort of just push the RTS genre that way in, many levels, because personally, talking about this, it sounds pretty damn amazing. That'd be flipping awesome, controlling villages, fighting around them, that just, feel like actual imperial fighting, style there. Again, rather than just, oh dear, I'm running about cutting wood. How exciting. Instead of, I'm securing these villages to supply my forces with iron and food, boots, stuff, so I can actually make troops and then march ahead. That way, again, there's sort of more context to the fighting as well, which I think is sort of one of the things, a lot of modern RTS games, again, sort of kind of miss. There's no real context to the fighting. There's just two armies bashing away, and that sort of kills context. People like context. Again, it's also, people like, single-player campaigns and all that. There's a context to things. Plus, that way, you sort of have that sort of narrative just sort of spontaneously arrives, around just, well, my army fought his guy's army because, well, his army was in the way. Instead, it becomes, I took on his forces by the village of Baden-Baden because he was threatening my food supply, and so I outflanked him, hit his village of, Boots. Yes, Boots. It's a beautiful French village somewhere in the north. Boots. But, took his village of Boots, cutting off his, supply lines, forcing him to double back to deal with it. Again, there's a lot more inherent narrative to that and a lot more fun with that. Again, people can create stories from that, rather than just, again, well, my hit meant his hit meant, again, rather than just, again, finding other villages, then could also, garrison structures and that within those villages, plus, again, the villagers could then rebuild those structures, rather than just, like in Company History, just, well, I fought the village, it's now leveled, I can't do anything with it, in theory, you can then have this situation where you've destroyed a village, took it, rebuild it, and then you can sort of fight from it new again. So, I think it has, a potential for, much more dynamic and regenerative gameplay, which again could lead, I think, to some really, really fun things by, leveraging what made Company is really fun, but I think at the same time giving, people what they sort of kind of want from an Age of Empires game, and again, sort of larger scale gameplay, but again, with some of the fun of Company Heroes, and also less, I think, extreme micromanagement, which I think is also kind of where some of the more modern RTS games tend to sort of get a bit full on themselves. They tend to focus too much, just neat micromanaging your quartermaster simulations rather than actually allowing people to play the flipping game. So I think that's sort of, a direction they could push it in. Again, I don't know if they will. I mean, it could just be, again, it's like, Age of Empires 2 just with guns or something else. I mean, that's very much a possibility. So I'm just largely speculating based on very little, again, basically based on what I know about Relic, what they can do, because, again, we've to an extent seen it somewhere before, and what I think would be, really, really, really cool, which obviously is a bit limited there as well, for sort of scope. But, that's sort of how I see, the direction they could take the game in currently, knowing what we do, and what, again, think it could be, really fun, just overall push the RTS genre a bit forward, make it look damn impressive again, rather than just, hey, another RTS game failed, because it turns out it just tried to do what everybody else did and failed at it. Like that which we shall not mention, which pretty much did that. So, I mean, if they were to do that again, I think, Age of Empires 4 could be an absolutely amazing game. If they get stuck in nostalgia and just try to please those people just like, I want to play the game in my childhood, except I don't actually want to play it, I don't make sense. I literally do not make sense. I mean, if they try to appease those people, I mean, again, it's going to end up like, that which we shall not mention, terribly. But again, if I try to push the genre, the game itself forwards, again, all great all around. That's not to say I'm causing more positive. I'm a bit worried, and overall, I'm also personally rather disappointed we didn't get Companies 3 announced. That's what I want, I want Companies 3. I want Italy 1943 or something like that, but, I'll take what I can get as long as it's good. Otherwise, I suppose there's Iron Harvest, which also looks promising, but I do have a few quibbles about that one. So, there's that again. I'm optimistic, a bit ambivalent, because again, I rather wanted the Companies 3, but I'm willing to sort of wait it out and see if we actually get something really amazing, because I do think it has the potential to be absolutely amazing, but it also has the potential of just, being another what we shall not mention. So, that's sort of the news here again. Age of Empires 4 announced by Relic and Microsoft. So there you go. Hopefully this has been educational for you. Hope you liked it. Hope you liked my vision for an Age of Empires 4. Of course, let me know. Like, share, comment, and of course, tell Relic they should hire me. Yes, they should. And of course, if they were, I would make an amazing Companies 3, by the way. Absolutely amazing. The best Companies 3 ever seen. The critics will love it. The people will love it. Everybody will love it. Including the Queen of England. So, there you go. Thank you all for joining in. Hope you enjoyed. And of course, again, talk, like, share, and all that. This is Imperial Dane signing off. Cheers.